I love Landon. I think he'll go down as either the best or one of the best ever U.S. soccer players. But I just think that, to me, Klinsmann knows that he needed some fresh, younger legs off the bench. I don't agree with Green, but to me, I think the time has passed on him. And your thoughts?
I mean, I have to say that I was somewhat surprised, not entirely, because I had put out on Twitter, a source had told me a couple months back that there were some players within the locker room that did not like Landon Donovan in terms of how he had been acting in terms of the past couple of years. With his sabbatical and all of that. So I mean, I wasn't completely surprised. There was some. I mean, but I have to admit that there was some element of shock, just not even to see him make the 23. I thought maybe cracking the starting 11 would have been a little bit tougher. That would not have been much of a surprise. But in terms of actually, the 23-man roster, I thought he was a shoo-in, just because he's so experienced, so talented. He hasn't had the best starts to the MLS season, but he can still provide that spark off the bench, and like you said, Jürgen is obviously going with a younger group. DeAndre Edlund's in there, Julian Green's in there, but at the same time, I don't think that those guys are ready to come off the bench and really give you the same type of impact that maybe Landon Donovan can at this point in time.
To me, Franco, I don't understand why you even bother calling him to be part of the 30 if you know in the back of your mind that he is on the bubble and you might have to cut him and you're going to get all this uproar. I think if he wasn't included on the 30, I think it would have been a less of a talking point. But because he was called in to the 30, I think a lot of people are upset. I mean, I'm shocked, to be quite honest, that Chris Wondolowski makes the cut. I never saw this coming. This guy never had the respect of Jürgen for the longest time, and all of a sudden, he's part of the group going to Brazil.
Well, it was always going to be tough between Wondolowski and Terrence Boyd. That was one of the the bubble battles for the final roster spots. And truth be told, thinking about it now, looking back in 2020 hindsight, retrospect, Chris Wondolowski got hot with the U.S. men's national team, at the right time. He did what he needed to do in the Gold Cup, scored a few goals to really, finally kind of break through that, and then actually, kind of start making a name for himself in terms of, putting himself into the picture with the national team, just cementing more of a consistent role with the team. And then after that, he got, sporadic looks here and there, and then he scores again in January against South Korea. Then he, gets another opportunity in April, and he scores again against Mexico off the quick header from Bradley. So, I mean, he did what he had to do. So I wouldn't say I was too surprised with that. I would maybe agree that Terrence Boyd might have been the better pick in just regards of, I think he gives you maybe a little bit less, but at the same time, he's a young guy, and if Jürgen Klinsmann's going with this, young man approach, going with the young guys, trying to season them with this World Cup in Brazil, then I'm kind of surprised that Terrence Boyd didn't make it, but I'm not too shocked that Chris Wondolowski's on the roster. I thought he had a good chance based off of just his overall body of work for the past year.
Franco, two guys that stick out to me as well as question marks are Omar Gonzalez. We know that he is not 100% fit. That is a big risk I think he's taking by bringing Omar Gonzalez to Brazil. And then I got to be honest, I have never been impressed by Brad Davis. Why would he bring a guy like Brad Davis to the World Cup? Is there something that I'm not seeing, or is there something that he's seen that he thinks he can help off the bench?
Well, see, to me, that's again going back to the overall point of back to Landon Donovan. I mean, do you really expect Brad Davis to come off the bench and be able to provide, give you more of an impact even off the bench than a Landon Donovan at this point in time? I would say no. But again, back to your question, Jürgen Klinsmann has said throughout this cycle, and I know he's mentioned it, directly on a couple of occasions, that when it comes down to making the 23-man roster for Brazil, he wasn't necessarily going to pick the 23 most talented players. He was going to pick the 22 players that made the best team, that fit together the best, that had the impact, and there was a balance between givers and takers, as he tends to phrase it. He always refers to Kyle Beckerman as a giver, DeMarcus Beasley as a giver, but maybe Brad Davis falls in that category, and then maybe his set piece and his left foot, and maybe he sees that combine the whole package as a valuable asset. Again, Jürgen Klinsmann sees things the way he wants to construct the team, and then he went with that, and we have some surprising inclusions for sure.